are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear on that toxic cell. The bell of my ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates, we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates, we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates, we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt.
Rahubat, Rahubat, Rahubat. Bienvenido, bienvenido, Maboica, 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 Maboica. What hub? What hub? Yeah, yeah. Bienvenido, mi hermanos, mi hermanas, mi hermanos. Welcome, y'all. Here I am on a Science Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Just for a quick note. It's strange. I kind of think I kind of like rubbed a few people wrong on the internet. You know what I'm saying? For one, my notifications are not going out. And for two, my views has been dropping. And for three, when I go on to certain podcasts that I channels that I used to go on and chat, no acknowledgement whatsoever. I think they're just trying to avoid me. They figure they avoid me, I'll never get back on again. They just, people just don't want to hear your truth. And that's what it is, you know what I'm saying? But that's okay. The shoe fits, wear it. Damn it. I don't care. I have a life. I have a life. Hold on a second. But other than that, I just want to say that I am healing. I've been a little bit under the weather. So I am healing now. You know what I'm saying? A little bit under the weather, but taking the right type of concoctions and stuff. I think and I'm definitely getting the alkaline water. I ordered it. I think what's going on is because I'm seeing some of the trees are starting to bud now. Um, the what they call allergies. Allergies get the best of me because I was outside. There was a lot of wind. The pot, and right now, the trees need those viruses and those bacteria. They need those viruses to grow. That's how they, grow. Everything is viruses, bacteria, and fungi. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we grow. So sometimes, when your body can be sensitive to allergies. You know what I'm saying? Probably, I wasn't eating the way I normally eat is to fight off infections and stuff like that. So I've been eating just, regular food and stuff like that, not doing a lot of teas, but I'm getting back on my tea regimen because again, the infections, you know what I'm saying? Those viruses are out there, the trees need them, and stuff like that. But anyway, I got an appointment with a doctor anyway, get a diagnosis, make sure everything is okay. You know what I'm saying? We're living in a strange world today. But I already go to doctors just to get the diagnosis and tell me, and then I, of course, second opinion, and then I know my body. I definitely know my body, and I feel certain areas in my body bothering me already. But I was in a hospital. I'll be vulnerable for 5 months. And being in the hospital because of my pancreas, had a pancreas attack, and being in the hospital for 5 months. When I came out, doctor, I had to go to the hospice and learn how to walk again. And the doctor told me it's gonna take you about 10 years for you to heal. So it's only been 5 years. But I'm doing it in 5 years. I'm cutting that time down to heal so I can get back out there working full-time playing my percussion. You know what I'm saying? Um, So that's where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I definitely want to, as I'm in my journey, my health journey, I also want to share that with people. You never know. You never know when you have to go through certain things. And then a lot of people have a lot of knowledge, and you want to learn. Again, I want to find out. I know that I don't know things. I know what I know, and then I know that I don't know certain things. When I don't know something, I want to find out about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to expand, I want to grow. And that's what's important. You want to find out, find, expand yourself and find things that you don't know. That's very important. Okay. I'm looking down because I'm looking down at myself. I should be looking at straight at you, the camera, you that's listening. Well, anyway, acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge Bondor. Floyd is always coming on. I appreciate you so much, man. Yeah, I appreciate you so much. And also Sankofa, Cypher. On this Science Tuesday, I'm gonna keep it like I was keeping it last week, and I want to talk to things that impacts us. Now, I'm not gonna go into the behavioral science of the Kemetic, the Mouth Federation, and then the Kemetic, things that are written on the walls, not just yet, but I wanted to go into the World Economic Forum and the studies that a lot of the university, traditional standard universities, and the studies they've done on behavioral science to see what we can pull out of that. I think it's very important because you're welcome, brother. I think it's very important that we study about behavioral science and gain back, control of our environment and our habitat, which is our economics. When you look at it, and also I want to bring in the science of money. So I'm going to touch upon that. And the science of money is called finance. That's the part where you should be finance, fiance. That's the part before you merge or marry, incorporation, whatever, and you marry. That's the part that you should be strengthening. So it's 2 and 2. But first, let's talk about behavioral science. Let me bring up the stick. So as I'm going along and searching, I want you to join me. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably reading and seeing some of these things for the first time. Because on my Science Tuesday, what I want to do is I want to just go into the science part of things and read on and on and on. I break up my days like that. And so here I'm sharing that with you. I'm sharing that experience that I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? In searching for things that I don't know and things that may be interesting and things that we can grasp as to be beneficial for us as an individual, our family, our tribe, our community, and of course, our nation, country, to the globe, humanity. You know what I'm saying? So it goes like that. Impact all those dynamics. All those dynamics we want to impact. Rahul Batman, beloved, Rahul Bat. And so I want to look into the behavioral science. I think that's a study that we definitely need to look into. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Okay, here we go. Now, again, this is the World Economic Forum, Strategic Intelligence. These are studies. They have the money. You know what I'm saying? They have the money to go out there and do what? Form foundations in many of these universities and institutions. This is how they get down. Now, this is the file. It's called behavior science. When the behavior science and economics and finance, human development, changing behavior for sustainability, technology, digitalization and behavior and governance, and business and behavior. Okay, a lot of it deal. Let's go over the first one. We're going to go counterclockwise. So I wanted to look into it. And now this file here called Behavior and Economics and Finance reaches out to all these files here. And I can't read it that much. You got public and finance and social protection. You got insurance. financial and monetary systems. Now, this is behavioral sciences and is looking into the economics. So that's how we're going to go a little bit into the economics of things. Retail, consumer goods, and lifestyle, economic progress, um, agile governance, civic participation. I'm trying to look up for one really nice. This aging and longevity. Check that one out. Let's look at the first file here. Let's go here. Behavior science, aging and longevity. Let's see what they have to say. Okay? Let's see what they have to say. Now, read more. Life expectancy in most countries has roughly doubled since the 1900s, marking one of the greatest accomplishments in human history. Now, scientific advances and new social roles are needed so that older people can live with purpose and dignity. Remember, I spoke about the second curve. And the reason why I'm speaking like this, because this is, we're going to elevate our elders. You know what I'm saying? It's very important in community, very important for our survival, for culture, very important for us to change, to elevate these elders. You know what I'm saying? So beyond simply adding years, we can improve the quality of life if we see things through the lens of longevity. The Stanford Center on Longevities, a new map of life initiative, has been examining how to change the very nature of education, recast work-life trajectories, and align our environments, lifestyles, and healthcare system in a way that lead to more happy and productive years. Ultimately, we can get to a point where we can see longer lives not as a burden, but a benefit. Not as a burden, but a benefit. Okay. Now, these briefing is based on the views of the wide range of experts from the World Economic Forum Expert Network and is curated in partnership with Martha J. DV, Associate Director of the Social Research Scholar, and Ken Smith, Senior Researcher Scholar, Stanford Center of Longevity, in addition to Stanford Center in Longevity and New Map of Life Fellows. So the curation is created by Stanford Center of Longevity and Stanford University, okay? And it's licensed here. Okay, let me see. What's going on? I got to, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I got to log in, but I don't want y'all to see my login. So just give me a second and let me log in. Let me log in here. Okay. I didn't log in. I'm in. Okay. Just send me back here. Why did it send me that? Aging and longevity. Okay, yes, here we go. Okay, I'm back. Let me share my screen. You're welcome. You're welcome, my brother. Yeah. This is important, and men understand the importance of it. My brother here, Harold, that's because he does a lot of work. I noticed that he does a lot of work with elders, especially Nuwapian elders. Men does a lot of work with Nuwapi. I always seen him, and it's like he had a natural ability to be with the elders and elevate our elders and support our elders, take care of our elders when they're in the hospital. To this day, and I definitely want to acknowledge that. So let's look at some of these articles. London School of Economics, 4 days ago. Let me see. I'm looking for one. Okay. Here's one from Harvard Kennedy School about the Native Americans. Interesting. Okay, let's look at this one here. Let me look at this publication. Um, trying to bring it up. What's going on here? No, I don't want to share it. What's going on? Oh, here we go. This is the 100-year life is here. How can we meet the challenges of longevity? And expert explains. Let's look into this. The article is part of the Davos agenda. Remember, the World Economic Forum, right, were established this forum, a forum where they meet and they discuss things by 300 billionaires, what they call the billionaire club. When you're a billionaire, and you together with other billionaires, you form forums, you form clubs, country clubs and billionaire clubs, right? And they formed a club. Well, that club started to represent itself in the United Nations. They formed a billionaires club, 300 billionaires. And so they started to put out fundings and to different institutions because they had the money to do that, and foundations and stuff, and started to do research, started to fund certain psychologists and in different areas of studies. This study deals with behavior science, so they took the behavior scientists, funded him in the university, and gave him everything he needed to conduct his findings, through experimentation, through experience or whatever, writing books and stuff like that. These are experts that study. This particular expert studied at the Kennedy, the Harvard Kennedy Institute, something like that. But we'll look it up. Now, reductions in infant mortality, advances in sanitation and medicine, public education, and rising standards of living have brought forth a new era of longevity. They're looking at longevity. They're looking at the rate that the humans live. That's the longevity, right? Our social institutions, economic policy, and social norm haven't evolved to keep up with these rapid change. They're letting you know our social institutions, our economic policy, social norms haven't evolved at all to keep up with these rapid changes. Now, Martha DeVee explained why we need to start redesigning institution practices and norms to align with today's reality of 100-year lifespan. What they're saying, humans now are going to live to be 100 years. And shout out to my mom, my BB, my ma, me. She turned today 81. 81. She looked like she's 60. She looks like 55 and 60, man. So happy birthday, mommy. If you hear this in the future. She likes to sometimes hear my podcast. She trained me. It's her fault, y'all. Blame her. It's her fault. So we often conflate aging society narratives with a crisis scenario. This was in the past. There came a time where, if your parents got to that age, you were thinking already putting them in a home, and they were pushed to the side. Their eldership, their age was not elevated. They were not found to be a access to society, an access to society, but they were more of like a nuisance. You know what I'm saying? This was strange. I mean, I wasn't brought up like that. I was not brought up like that. You know what I'm saying? The way we was brought up, and when I lived in the island of Borinquen in Puerto Rico, like I said it before, we used to look at the elders and call them by Don. Don Pacho was my grandfather. Don Pablo Pacho, Don. Y Doña Maria Pacho. Doña Maria Pacho was my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? When they walked the streets, everybody in the neighborhood, we live in Calimano, in Omaunabo, Ubinacion Calimano, right there. And when they walked those streets, or if any of the youth walked around and saw them outside, always address them, Doña Maria, ¿cómo está? Do you need anything? You know what I'm saying? That was the way we was brought up. When you came to the States, it was a little different, man. A little different. We was put in a suppressive environment. Again, antisociable weirdos started to take over the administrations, the social services, society. The youth at that time started to be risen up in a suppressive environment, even in school systems, because the state took over. And now I'm not against statehood and state running, and it's just I'm against anti-sociable people running, becoming CEOs and running a particular, and calling the shots, those rules and regulations. That's what I'm against. There's a difference in that. Before I go on, okay. There is a huge difference in that, right? So the insolvency of social securities and pension funds that may dry up before lives end are some of the fears propagated by some. You know what I'm saying? These static views live on the these static views live on the outdated assumption that older adults drag down economic productivity and drain societal resources. This is what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Anti-sociable people, because it shouldn't be like that at all. We can challenge this notion by adopting a forward-looking longevity perspective on the economic potential of an age-diverse population. This may be one where we see that older adults can contribute in a more meaningful, significant, and measurable ways to social good and economic progress. See? By laying the groundwork for a society that is healthier and more equitable, we can share in a diversity of opportunities presented by healthy longevity across races, geographic regions, and socioeconomic status. You know what I'm saying? In your community, in your household, applied in your household. You got to lay those groundworks for your house, for your community, your society. You know what I'm saying? Elevate the elders. They are mentors. Help them live the second curve to become mentors and teachers and share their wisdom with the family, share their wisdom with the community, with the tribe. Very important. With the tribe, nation, on and on and on. On these internet communities, your elders are going to be sharing some type of wisdom. Very, very important. Very important. You elevate society like that. You elevate your tribe like that. You elevate humanity like that. You know? So let's realizing the opportunities of healthy longevity over the last 20 years, or 200 years, I'm sorry, in the last 200 years, people in all countries in the world achieved impressive progress in a health that led to increase of life expectancy. We're now entering an unprecedented era of long lives. Most children in the developed world born since 2000 can expect to live up to 100 years and beyond. The implication of the 100-year life for individuals, businesses, and communities and governments will be profound. The implications would impact, I'm telling you, individuals, businesses, communities, government, tribe. You know, still, it is not their sole responsibility to reimagine a longevity-ready society. It is an all-hands, all-sector undertaking requiring the best idea from the private sector, from government, medicine, academia, and philanthropy. Now, this is the Stanford University, right? Stanford Center for Longevity launched an initiative called the New Map of Life. What is the New Map of Life? Should we bring that up? We should. Let me just finish reading this. Believing that one of the most profound transformations of the human experience calls for equality, momentous, and creative changes in how we lead these 100 years lives. We spoke with Martha DeVee, Associate Director of the Senior Research Scholar, Stanford Center for Longevity, about what needs to be done ahead of the current young becoming the future old, and how to make the most out of the 30 extra years of life we have. Martha and a team of experts also contributed to the World Economic Forum Strategic Intelligence Platform with their analysts of aging and longevity. Let's look at the new map here. It's pulling. The 100-year life is here. We're not ready. In the United States, as many as half of today's 5-year-olds can expect to live the age of 100 years. That's why it's important to start now. You know what I'm saying? Elevating our elders and now getting used, because that's going to help. You see, that's going to help communities and thrive in society. If you don't do this now, then guess what? You're going to create a suppressive reality for your descendants, for your ancestry, your descendants. And they're going to look at, you know what I'm saying? And like we can look back at some of our ancestors and say, man, they were in a suppressive society. That's the reason why we're experiencing the things that we're experiencing now. And we're in a suppressive environment because they became antisociable, because of the suppressive environment breed more antisociable personalities. You know, you get it? You know, and this once unattainable milestone may become the norm of the newborn by 2050. All the newborns now got to live to be 100 years. You know what I'm saying? So how do we prepare them? You know what I'm saying? How do we keep society going and thriving in humanity? You know, yet the social institutions, norms, and policy that await these future centenarians involved when lives were only half as long and need updating. In 2018, the Stanford Center of Longevity launched an initiative called the New Map of Life, believing that one of the most profound transformations of the human experience calls for equally momentous and creative changes in a way which lead at the 100 years lives at every stage. We can meet challenges that longevity creates if we act now guided by these principles. And these are the principles in the map. This is the map here. You can also read the report. Should I bring it up? Let me see what happens here. Okay, actually, that's a report. I just downloaded that. So let me download this and keep it for my records. I like to download a lot of this PDF and read them later on, but that's not what I want to do now. Okay. So that's a report. It's got a nice video here. Now, these are the guiding principles. You got age diversity and a net positive. That means the speed of strength and zest for discovery common in younger people, combined by the emotional intelligence and wisdom prevalent amongst older people. You see that? That's balancing your fluid intelligence with your crystallized intelligence. Okay. Now, when you do this, it creates possibility for families, communities, and workplaces that haven't existed before. Rather than dwelling on anxiously on the cost incurring by an aging society, we can measure and reap remarkable dividends of a society that is, in fact, age diverse. Now, invest in future centenarians in deliver big return. We can invest in future centenarians by optimizing each stage of life so that benefits can compound for decades, while allowing for more time to recover from disadvantages and setbacks. The pivotal years between birth and kindergarten are the ultimate time for children to acquire many of the cognitive, emotional, and social skills needed for a healthy, happy, and active life. So this has to start from an early age. You know. And so when our youth are being taught, right, and are being exposed to aging, you know, and the mentor, the ager, you know what I'm saying? They gain respect when you implement respect on that early age. You know what I'm saying? Like the children from back then, you know. Align health spans to lifespans. Now, the key principle of the new map of life is that healthy longevity requires investment in public health at every life stage, and health span should be the metric for determining how, when, and where to invest. The health span. Addressing health disparities means investing not only in better access to healthcare, but the health of communities. In communities. especially those affected by poverty, discrimination, and environmental damage. So there are communities out here, and we've seen it affected by poverty, discriminations, and environmental damages. You have to repair that. It depends on the health of the community. That's the reason why, earlier podcasts, I mentioned about marriage and how that is the foundation and support system, not only marriage, but teaching your children about economics, agriculture, and simple economics, of teaching them about finance, which we'll go into later on. But how important that is to a community to make a community thrive. And it also, as you see here, that's also going to, at the core of it also is elevating your elders, respect for your elders, and giving them a opportunity, the rite of passage, the opportunity for them to teach, mentor, and share their wisdom. Very, very important, man. Very important. Prepared to be amazed by future aging. Now, today's 5-year-old will benefit from an astonishing array of medical advances and emerging technologies that will make their experience of aging far different from that of today's older adults. And while there is no way to stop the progress of aging, the emerging field of geroscience has the potential to transform how we age. Geroscience is studying by seeking to identify and reprogram the genetic, molecular, and cellular mechanism that make age the dominant risk factor for certain disease and degenerative conditions. So there's work being done on that as we speak. There's a lot of work being done on it right now. Pretty soon, they said that death is a disease. Death is a disease that attacks the DNA. You know what I'm saying? That's how you see some people with DNA that don't age real quickly. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all in the DNA and how you reprogram them DNAs. Very, very important. Work more years with more flexibility over the course of 100-year lives. We can expect to work 60 years or more, but we won't work as we do now, cramming 40 hours a week into lives impossibly packed by morning until the night with parenting, family, caregiving, schooling, and other obligations. Workers seek flexibility, whether that means working from home at times or having the flexible routes in and out of workplace, including paid and unpaid intervals of caregiving, health needs, lifelong learning, and other transitions to be expected over the century-long life. The workplace is about to change. It's about to change. And that's what this whole thing was all about. People working from home, you know what I'm saying, and there's people that made a career from working from home. You know what I'm saying? I've been engaging in that myself, working from home, my office here, and working from home. So and also learn throughout life rather than front loading formal education into the first 2 decades of life. The new map of life envisions new options of learning outside the confines of formal education, with people of all ages able to acquire the knowledge they need at each stage of their lives and to access it in ways that fit their needs, interests, abilities, schedules, and budgets. Okay? Accessing, again, this formal education out to go out the window. Everything, this is the initiative, I'm telling you, that they rolled out in the World Economic Forum. Things about to change, and you see it changing little by little around us. So these are maps that they set out for life and dealing with behavior science and dealing with aging and longevity. Build longevity-ready communities. The impacts of the physical environment begins with birth, with advantages and disadvantages accumulating over the entire course of life. It starts at birth. It starts with the home. You know what I'm saying? You should already be discussing this with your spouse, your mate. You should be discussing this of how, again, sustain the family, longevity, okay? If you have elders in the house, elevating them and asking them to sit with you and your spouse and discuss plans for the future of the babies. The future is being cognizant of the what's it, legacy. Legacy is what you're going to leave behind to your descendants, and you're the ancestors of tomorrow. What legacies are you going to live in? What legacies did our ancestors live in? That ancestors left us a lot of legacies in the walls of Kemet. That's why in the other next week, I think we're gonna embark in the whole reading the hieroglyph in the walls of Kemet and those morals and codes and that lifestyle. Okay. Now, where I'm at. Determining how likely individuals to be physically active, whether they are isolated or socially engaged, and how likely they are to develop obesity, respiratory or cardiovascular or neurodegenerative diseases. All of this stuff is going to be looked at. We start now to design and build neighborhoods that are longevity ready neighborhoods. So you do see, as a potential investment in infrastructures through the lens of longevity. So you do see, I know I do remember seeing a couple of centers, especially in Orlando, Florida, for the elderly. Back then, the churches had bingo, and places for the elderly to go and parties and stuff for them. You know what I'm saying? The elders. But at the same time, those elders also, there were programs where they came to visit schools and speak, you know what I'm saying, and churches and schools and speak, you know what I'm saying. But again, to do this in a personal level, at the home economics, to do this at your home and at your community and tribal is very, very important. You have to take charge from there, and then when it comes to in humanity, or when it comes to state or city, there are centers or form centers. Have an elder day, even if you belong to a group of people, a tribe, you belong to a certain tribe, you belong to a certain school of thought, then have a group of elders get together and hold a symposium. You know what I'm saying? There's many things. The road ahead, meeting the challenges of longevity is sole responsibility of government, employers, healthcare and provider, or insurance company. It is an all hands, all sector undertaking requiring the best ideas from private sectors, government, medicine, academia, and philanthropy. It is not enough to reimagine or to rethink society to become longevity ready. We must build it and fast. If we're to save humanity, we got to do this with the quickness. The policies and investment we undertake today will determine how the current young become the future old, and whether we make the most of the 30 extra years of life that has been handed to us. We've been handed the 30 extra life. Guess what? How are we going to handle it? How are we going to make that beneficial to the way we live our life? You know what I'm saying? Peace, Patrick. So this is very, very important. Very, very important. And this is from the Stanford Center for Longevity, Stanford. Okay. And let me get rid of that. Now I want to look into finance because, again, I don't want to stay here too long. One of the, also, I saved the best for last. But let me get out of this. Well, I've seen this. I mean, you got so many articles here when you read it. The immigrations and the care for America's older. Wow. Let me say, London School of Economics. How can we say things can be important as what we say? In this post, Ella Whitney explores the framing effect, its implication of education, research, communication in the particular. Fancy that food sample trolley down the aisle. You be lying towards her, and well, I don't want to read too much into that. All right, well, let's look at the finance. 1 second. Ooh, somebody's having a bad time back out there. My daughter, my granddaughter. Oh man. Yeah. I'm still. Let's look at finance. It's just a science of money, of economics. Some people think of money when they deal with economics, but it's very important when you teach your youth of how to handle money and teach them about the real world. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to bring something up here. Um, and then I'm going to quit it. This is the definition. What is finance? Remember, I always say finance is fiance. You know what I'm saying? Fiance and finance. At the time when you become fiance, it's the time when you should be thinking about of a lot of this, of planning. That phase of planning should be happening. So finance is a term for matters regarding the management, creation, and the study of money and investment. Finance can be broadly divided into three categories. They got the public finance, corporate finance, and personal finance. And we're going to speak about how all three of these can impact your household. There are many other specific categories, such as behavioral finance, which seek to identify the cognitive, which is the emotional, social, and psychological reasons behind financial decisions. We have to look at that. We have to look at behavioral finance also, how we make these decisions, and if these decisions are made with our best reasoning in mind. Now, finance is a term. Now, these are the key takeaways. Finance is a term broadly describing the study and the system of money, investment, and other financial instruments. At the time that you are fiance, you should already, our children have to learn that when they're getting ready to enter to that dating phase and going to call the fiance, you know what I'm saying? This is the time that they have to be educated in the household already as to bring a communication with their mate or the person they finance, our fiance. So let's speak about investments. How we're going to invest and protect each other, of course, and other financial instruments. We'll speak about that. Finance could be divided broadly into three distinct categories. You got public finance, you got corporate finance, and personal finance, and we'll go over that. For more recent subcategories of finance include social finance and behavioral finance. You know what I'm saying? This is a study now. This is the study and the system of money. Now, the history of finance and financial activities dates back to the dawn of civilization. Banks and interest-bearing loans existed as nearly 3,000 BC, before the Common Era, before Christ. 3,000 years. Coins were being circulated as early as 1,000 BC. Now, while it has its roots in scientific fields such as statistics, economics, and mathematics, finance also include non-scientific elements that liken it to an art. You know what I'm saying? Very, very important. When you teach your children art and music, or also deal with statistics and deal with mathematics, you have to develop that mind little by little. Strengthen those points in your children. So when they get to the point where they're having these discussions with you, when you get to a point where they're having these discussions with you about finance, and because they're thinking about fiance, you know what I'm saying? So finance typically broken down to three broad categories. You got the public finance, which includes tax systems, government expenditures, budget procedures, stabilization policy. Let's look at that. And instruments, debt issues, and other government concerns, right? You have corporate finance involving managing assets, liabilities, revenues, and debts for a business. All of this, and then also personal finance defines all the financial decisions and activities of an individual and household, including budgeting, insurance, mortgage planning, saving, and also retirement planning. All of these are applicable to your household and learning about finance. Yeah, all of this, because you have to take into the account tax system. Even when you go and merge and become married and you take it to the state, you have to pay a fee. You know what I'm saying? You have to pay a fee. You know, you have to pay, and then when it gets to personal things, you're talking about the wedding and stuff, you budgeting, stuff like that. When you look at that, when you look at it at the corporate sector, you're looking at your assets and your liability revenue. You really have to be taught at an early age bookkeeping of how these things work, so you can sit down with your mate and a well instructed, a well constructed family that deals with this determines its success. Become a very successful family, become a successful legacy. You know what I'm saying? This is at the core of it. You know, remember, we're still at this root energy center, and this is at the core of everything around us. Let's look at the stabilization of policy. Let me see if I put stabilization policy. What is it? Excuse me. Is a strategy enacted by a government or its central bank that is aimed at maintaining a healthy level of economic growth and minimal price changes. So this is a central bank thing. I'm saying the stability policies. You have to be aware of this. Sustaining a stabilization policy requires monitoring the business cycle and adjusting fiscal policy and monetary policy, and needed to control abrupt changes in demand and supply. Today, how did this apply to today? Well, they gave you the clue when the news started putting out about Russia and China. When you look at Russia, right? You're looking at the bear. Russia symbolically is being represented by the bear, and the bear constellation, and the bear, what they call the dipper, the big dipper, the Ursa Mayor and the Ursa Menor. That, and what happened is, and I'm gonna bring it up, what it represents. So in the language of business news, stability policy is designed to prevent economy from successfully overheating or slowing down. So we have to learn about what is a bear market. You see, it affects all this, the constellations affect economics here, affects the planet, the habitat, and the environment. And so when you're looking at the bear, you're looking at the bear market. Let me bring that up for 1 second. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'll bring that up in a few minutes. Let me finish. Let me finish reading this here. So the key takeaways are also and no. So that's mainly what I just wanted to drop. So let me so stabilization policies seeks to keep an economy on and even keel by increasing or decreasing interest rates as needed. Right? That's the stabilizing. You know what I'm saying? The economy. That's the policy. Interest rates are raised to discourage borrowing to spend, or lowering to boost borrowing to spend. You know, the interest rates. Somebody's manipulating this, but also the forces of nature are manipulating the market. And I explained to you how. Fiscal policy can also be used for increasing and decreasing government spending and taxes to affect aggregate demands. Okay, now the intended result is an economy that is cushioned by the effects of the wild swings in demand. Okay, now I'm not going to keep going into this. Policy. Okay, you can read this on your own. So just look up the words stabilization policy. You know what I'm saying? And you got macroeconomics and economics. Just look that up as an Investopedia. Okay, or just Google that and put that on there. But let me do something here, because we're speaking about economics, we're speaking about financing. So being aware, and this I'm going to lay down here, and this is something that we can teach to our children, if being knowing about the bear market and the bull market and the dead cat bounce. Let me bring something up here. Give me 1 second, y'all. Here we go. Here we go. Here you have, what's the difference between the bear and the bull market. Well, the bear market is where the 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 market, the businessmen, the market, the brokers, and they become pessimistic because they see the markets is falling, 20% fall from recent high. Once it falls 20% down from the recent high, they call that the bear market. And they become very pessimistic. Pessimism. That's the market's falling. That's where we at right now. So, but a lot of these brokers and CPAs, they look at this also. They look at it pessimistically, but they're also looking at it as an opportunity. They buy up a lot of people. Get fear. They fear, oh, it's going to crash, and I don't want to be caught out there in debt and whatever. And then next thing you know, they sell all their stocks and bonds. They're trying to level out themselves, stabilize themselves, right? I was watching a great movie, man, on Netflix about this. Um, Later on, I'll tell you the name of the movie. It was a great movie, man. There's not too much. There's action in there, but it deals a lot with a firm and the business of that firm, a firm from Wall Street, an actual broker firm that deals with insurance and things like that. And so that's the bear market. So you see and then look at the bear constellation. You know what I'm saying? It's facing because we're heading into spring. So you look at that constellation according to where the North Star is at, and that constellation, that also mayor, that and Ursa menor, and you look at those dipper, the big dipper, and the little right now it's prevalent. Right now it's causing, again, there's electromagnetic force. It's causing certain vibes. These brokers in Wall Street, they watch the skies because they have already determined how it affects the market. It affects the market a certain way, so they're already on this. You know what I'm saying? They already know. You know, so we have to be conscious and look at the bull market is optimistic when everything starts rising above 20% of the 20% after the 20% falls. You know what I'm saying? Start rising, and then they see the bull. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's the bull market, and that's the bull constellation. You know what I'm saying? And watch, when this happens, you're going to see a lot of shift to Europe, especially when it comes to Spain, Greece, and those areas, and certain areas in ancient Kemet in Africa. The bull and the calf and the bull is symbolic. It's very, very symbolic. So we have to watch that they manipulate those stories and those narratives. It's giving you signal. A lot of these brokers, they read the news different than what you read them. You know what I'm saying? Very different. You know, they're looking at the market at the same time they're watching the news. They're saying, "Oh, this is happening, okay." And then underneath, you see the ticket, the tinker, right underneath, while they're watching the news, and they see numbers drop. They see how things go. So this is just a skill. But when our children are informed about things like this, so tell them, what's the bear? What's the bull? The bear market means when 20% fall from a recent high market falling. That means in this market, and has been manipulated so that people don't buy as much now. You know what I'm saying? Something happened, you know? So that's something to just look at. Mhm. Thank you for those that are watching it. I'm not going to stay here too long. I don't want to bore anybody. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that. And let's look at how to meet the challenges. So we're on finance. The history, let's look a little bit in the history of finance just to get that in there a little bit. And then I would stop the broadcast. So we're back here to the history of finance. Okay. So remember, all the three categories, the three broad categories, and they're broad. It deals with a lot more. You got the public finance. So you're teaching. So this is what I wanted to say about how to teach your children about public finance. It's a tax system. You get 3 jars, right? And then in the allowance, you tell the child, I'm going to give you $10 a week. But out of that $10 in this jar here, you have to pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? You have to pay taxes in the house. So you tell them, so let's say hypothetically, for an example purposes, let's say the $10 that you're going to give them. I usually do allowance according to the years that they have. If they're 7 years old, they get $7 on payday, on probably $7 a week. If they're 12 years old, they should get $12 a week. That's a easy way of doing things. But if you give them the allowance and then you show them that if I'm giving you $12, you have to pay taxes. So I have to take $2 away and I'm giving you $10. And I'm putting the $2 in this jar. This is my tax jar. So every time you tell them, every time you want to spend or you ask me for money, I got to take taxes out because I'm the bank. I got to take my fee and I got to put it in this jar. Because then later on, I tell you what you use those jars for. Then there's there's a jar that you keep the money, their allowance. And then when they want to take out of that allowance, then they pay taxes in the other jar. And then the other jar is so that when they go out and they spend it, they have to come back with taxes. You know what I'm saying? But let's just use 2 jars for now. Because then later on, at the end of the month, those taxes that have been accumulated, right, are going to go to a project that you do with your family. Let's say you want to go out for pizza one night or something, so you use it from the tax. Or you want to buy something that is needed in the house, something break down, or you want to buy something in the house, they'll take it from the tax money. You know what I'm saying? So that's a way of doing things when it comes to teaching your children about the tax system. Government expenditure, you show them that this house here is like the White House. This got to run. This got to be maintained or something like that. And then the budget, always sometimes include your children in the budget too. You know what I'm saying? Don't hide things from them because then they know what they're dealing with. But tell them, listen, no matter what's going on right now, you're going to get your allowance, and how you spend your allowance and how you save your allowance. You see, that's the other jar, the saving of your allowance. You know what I'm saying? And you have to still pay taxes on when you try to take it out. You have to pay tax and then it goes into the other jar. There's a system. So they have to know that. And then they have to know also about if they're going to spend the money on knowing about the bear market and the bull market. Hey, is this the right time to spend that money? You know what I'm saying? Because look at the market. You help them make decisions now when they're young, so when they get older, they understand this and they're able to sit down with their fiance and budget out themselves and continue this. You know what I'm saying? So you know, so this one talks about government concern, talks about that, how you govern your family, the mentor of your family. Now, in the corporate, of course, you sit down, you do the assets, liability, and the balance. You do bookkeeping and revenues and debt for running the household. That has to be put down on paper. You know what I'm saying? And in that bookkeeping is included the children's allowance. You know what I'm saying? The allowance for the house is going to be considered to be a liability. You see? But the jar with the taxes can be a revenue, an asset. So that goes into the book. So you show them how books is done. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, your personal finance, of course, including, again, the budget, again, insurance, whole life insurance. And if you own your house or you're thinking of buying a house, how are you going to do the mortgage? How you plan? It's a planning involved in this. And, of course, saving. I guess the best way to save is to save in an institution that yields you the most interest. And I like whole life insurance. Yields you it protects you at the same time. It allows you to put money in there and save. So you got whole life insurance and then of course, retirement planning. Okay. Retirement planning is very, very important. There's many things and we'll go into that some other time. So the history of finance as a study of theory and practice distinct from the field of economics arose in the 1940s and 50s with the works of Makowicz, Tobin, Sharp, Trainer, Black, and Schools, to name just a few. These are economics, right? But particular realms of finance, such as banking, lending, and investing, of course, money itself, has been around since the dawn of civilization, some form or another. It goes way back. So around 3000 BC, banking seems to have originated, and they say in the Babylonian Sumerians, and also in ancient Kemet. Because ancient Kemet and Sumerian was like, it's like cousins. You know what I'm saying? The same, the father, two different brothers, birthing two different civilizations, if you want to look at it like that, just for an example purpose. It goes more deeper than that. But you got the Babylonian Sumerians, and then you have the Kemet, you have the Ptolemy and Kemet empire. These were empires, and empires include many nations, many dynasties, and many, different tribes, states, that comes together under one rule. So where temples and palaces were used as a safe place for the storage of financial assets like grain, cattle, silver, and copper ingots. Grain was the currency of choice in the country, while silver was preferred in the city. So in the country, people, it was all about the grain. You know what I'm saying? And these deposited grain in a central place, and that's what was distributed amongst in the country tribes, and the village and stuff like that. In the city, it was more like silver. You know what I'm saying? Now, financial transactions of the early Sumerians were formalized in the Babylonian Code of Hammurabi. When you read the Code of Hammurabi, this set of rules regulated ownership or rental of land, employment, agricultural labor, credit, and yes, there were loans back then. And yes, interest was charged on them. Rates varied depending on whether you were borrowing grain or silver. You had an option. By the 1200 BC, cowrie shells. I've been looking a lot into cowrie shells. I'm thinking about ordering a lot of cowrie shells for the simple reason it's always been used as money in China. And cowrie shells have such a significance. They're expensive, I think. And if you look at this, a lot of African tribes wore cowrie shells on their regalia or on their culture represents wealth. Now, coin money was introduced in the first millennium BC. King Croesus of Lydia, now known as Turkey, was one of the first to strike and circulate gold coins around 564 BC, hence the expression rich as Croesus. Now, this is according to this civilization, but of course, you do find gold coins going even predating this, I think, but I'm not even going to go there. So early stocks and bonds and options, option trading. I've been learning a lot about option trading. I'm doing paper trading now, but pretty soon I'm going to shift it over to day trading option when I have enough money to put in that. Because the whole thing is to use 1/3 of your money that you may have, use 1/3 and put that into option trading so it doesn't impact your living. You know what I'm saying? That's another way of doing things, okay? Is that when you're going to deal with this. So in the 6th century BC, the 1st century AD, the ancient Greeks enumerated 6 different types of loans. That personal loans that charge interest as high as 48% per month. And there were also option contracts. According to Aristotle, a man named Thales, and I've studied this before when I was studying with Billy Carson. Shout out to Billy Carson, a millionaire twice, a couple of times. He lost money and gained back his millions. And he gave us a history of option trading because he was teaching us to do option trading on Robinhood, but I use Webull to do my paper trading and learning about it so that when I'm ready to do option trading, I'm all set. So Thales went long on olive presses, buying the rights to use them. That's what option trading is all about. He anticipated big olive harvest, and he was right. So he was able to, he didn't own those olive rights. He didn't own the olive plantations and the product, but what he was able to trade it. Okay, he was able to use the rights of it. Well, we got to explain that some other time because that's a little. Advances in accounting, you got compound interest calculated not just on principal, but on previously accrued interest. Was known to ancient civilization. The Babylonian had a phase of interest on interest, which basically defines the concept. There's an interest on interest. You have to teach your children about compound interest. And that's the 2 jars, But it was not until medieval time that mathematicians started to analyze it in order to show how invested sums could mount up. One of the earliest and most important sources in arithmetical manuscript written in 1202 by Leonardo Fibonacci was a piece known as Liber Abbasi, which gives example comparing compound and simple interest. Now, the first comprehensive treatise on bookkeeping and accountancy, Luca Boccioli's Summa de Arithmetica, Geometria, Proportioni, and Improportionalita, was published in Venice in 1494. A book on accountancy and arithmetic. These books, let me tell you, are books that are brought into the university, and they study this when they deal with finance. So I suggest also your household is a university. You should be living in a university. So a lot of these books should be books that should be on your shelf. You should be forming your library. I'm forming my library here, and I'm definitely going to look into some of these books and learn a little bit more. So, and so these are the books, okay? Public finance, the federal government help prevent market failure by overseeing the allocation of resources, distribution of income, and stabilization of economy. The federal government helps to prevent the market, okay? They help. Government's supposed to help, not dictate, okay? So regular funding of these programs is secure mostly through taxation. So again, there's certain fundings or initiative that you want to do in your family that you can use that tax money that you collected from the family when they want to spend. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're going to give an allowance to your mate. Honey, well, how old are you? 40? Here's $40, but I got to take out the tax and I got to put it into this job. Because later on, that's going to help to initiate certain programs, you know? Borrowing from bank, insurance company, and other government and earning dividends is also help finance the federal government. So the federal government operates like that. They tax you. So state and local government also receive grants and aid from federal government, state and local. Other sources of public finance include user charge from ports, airport services, and other facilities, fines resulting from breaking law. When you break the law, those antisocial burrito, when you break the law, you help finance the government. That's the reason, facts, because you have to pay all these fines and these fees. You know what I'm saying? Revenues from license and fees such as for driving, sales, and government security. Also, when you're incarcerated, they give you a number. They give a QSIT number. A bond is created. And that is, again, we got to go into that some other time, how they broker that. Corporate finance, personal finance. We're not going to go through. The most important aspect of personal finance include assessing the current financial status, of the financial status is expected cash flow, current savings, and etc. Okay? Assessing the current financial status, expected cash flow, and also looking at the bear market, knowing about the bear market and the bull market, and the debt count bounce. The debt cat bounce happens when you're in the bear market, and all of a sudden it shoots up, whoop, and then it shoots back down. What? And it's like, psych. The market was still in the bear market. You know what I'm saying? It's just a cat coming through and what? Woo. You know what I'm saying? Buying insurance to protect against risk and to ensure one's material standing is secure. So when you buy whole life insurance, you protect against a risk of the family, and also one's material standing is secure. Your material standing is secure. I pay insurance in here where I'm at, but I don't. Whole life insurance is something that I need to consolidate more. But sometimes it takes a whole family to do that. Whole life insurance can be very overburdened and can be expensive. The more you put into it, the more money. Let's say you had a 10-year cap, the more money you're able to take out. So let's say you plan with your fiance and says, we got our whole insurance now. In 10 years, we're able to buy a house. We're going to live in this apartment. We're going to cut down 10. Our plan is in 10 years. Okay? We're going to have a child. If we have a child, they come along, they're going to be included in this whole life insurance. You know what I'm saying? Well, you can't get money from them, but it's for their future. You know what I'm saying? It's for their future. Calculating, filing taxes is important. Saving and investments and retirement planning. Okay? Social behavior. Let me look at behavioral finance before I stop it there. There are times when theoretically and empirical evidence seems to suggest that conventional financial theories were reasonably successful as predicting and explaining certain types of economic events. Okay. Nonetheless, as time went on, academics in the financial and economic realms detected anomalies and behavior which occurred in the real world but could not be explained by any available theories. And that's again the bull market, the bear market, and the bull market, and the way how the constellation, and they're watching the constellation. I'm telling you, even the government, they have their astronomers, that's helping them look at this occurring, right? That transcendental mind and how it's affecting our lives, affecting our markets, of the way we, our economics and our our habitat and our environment. It became increasingly clear that conventional theories can explain certain idealized events, but that the real world was, in fact, a great deal more messy and disorganized, and that market participants frequently behave in ways that are irrational and thus difficult to predict according to those models. Okay. As a result, economics began to turn to cognitive psychology in order to account for irrational and illogical behavior which are unexplained by modern financial theory. Behavioral science is a field that was born out of these efforts. Okay. So the irrational and the illogical behavior, like for instance, what happened when this whole thing started to pop off, you know what I'm talking about? People irrationally ran out there and bought toilet paper. The market for toilet paper became a scarcity. You know what I'm saying? People were actually fighting out there, and bottle of water, and so and so and so. This illogical behavior, this unexplained modern financial theory. They were like, wow, but it was all an experiment. That's what I say. It was all an experiment to see how we act. There's behavioral sciences that field, and they're looking at it. And these, I'm telling you, these initiatives and the agenda to seek to explain action, whereas modern finance seeks to explain the action of the idealized economic man, the Homo economicus. That's a new one. The Homo economicus. Wow. Behavior finance, a subfield of behavior economics, proposes psychology-based theories to explain financial anomalies, such as severe risks, rises and falls in stock prices. They're watching this. You know what I'm saying? The behavioral, that's behavioral finance. The purpose is to identify and understand why people make certain financial choices within behavioral finances. It's assumed that the information structure and the characteristics of the market participants systematically influence individuals' investment decision as well as market outcomes. This is a science that we're not investigating. And when you investigate, you invest in. This is a behavioral finance. This is where they're at, watching everything we do, watching everything, manipulating us as we speak. You know what I'm saying? Um, Let me see. Okay. Behavior finance encompasses many concepts, but four are the key: mental accounting, herd behavior, anchoring, and high self-rating and overconfidence. Mental. Now let's go over these, and then I'm going to stop it there. You know, mental accounting refers to the propensity for people to allocate money for specific purposes based on miscellaneous subjective criteria. What does that mean? Refers to propensity for people to allocate. Let's look at the word propensity. Remember, if you don't understand a word, look it up in the dictionary. Yo. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring it up. Where is it? Right here. Hmm. Sorry about that. Here you go. Propensity. Oh, Jesus. No. Propensity. Where are you at? Where you at? Propensity to say, model. Mm. Oh, wow. It keeps, wow, this is interesting. Hmm. Interesting, y'all. Oh, it skips it. This is crazy. I don't like, I'm gonna have to change I'm definitely going to have to change. Yeah, I'm definitely modeling single customer view. So propensity me is a single customer view in a aggregated or consistent holistic representative of the data held by organization about customers. So I'm just gonna end it there. Oh, I know why what I did. I know exactly what I did. Propensity is an inclination or natural tendency to behave in a particular way. So the propensity means it's an inclination, a natural tendency to behave a particular way. So it refers to the propensity for people to allocate money a specific purpose based on miscellaneous subjective criteria, including the source of the money and the extended use for each account. Now, the theory of a mental accounting suggests that individuals are likely to assign different functions to each asset group and account, the result of which can be illogical, even detrimental set of behavior. For example, some people keep a special money jar set aside for vacation and a new home while at the same time carrying substantial credit card debt. There's a problem there, right? Houston, we have a problem. You keep a money jar, but you carry all this credit card debt. That's mental accounting. You know what I'm saying? Okay. If you're going, it's very important credit card debts are very, very important how to deal with credit cards. And I'm just going to interject this a little bit here, but another day we'll go into that finance, maybe tomorrow or something. But credit cards work in very specific ways. You have to find the one with the least amount of interest. And when you do, we're going to look up some credit cards like that. And when you do, remember, if you, let's say you get a secure card with $300, you put $300 into your bank, you got a secure card for $300. You really can only spend 100. 1/3 of that card is to be spent. Because once you go over that 1/3, your bank is looking at you as a risk. You don't know how to manage yourself because you're going overboard. They're looking, the warning signs come up and they say, because some people will take the $300, right? And book, close the account, even though you put that money in there, but that money, they're using that money. You got to understand the way banks also work, that the money you put in and you're getting interest on the money, not much, is because they're using your money. They're moving it, they're lending it out, and they're charging people on that loans and stuff and that fee for the money from your signature, from your money. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that works. But we're going to go into that another time. But remember that when you got a credit card, 1/3 of the credit card, and you maintain it, because it'll also help you score your FICO score, the Fair Isaac consumer reports, right? The Fair Isaac, right? And then that reporting, you get your FICO score from Experian, TransUnion, and what's the other one? Expedia, right? Those scores, and then you take the lowest and the highest, and the one in the middle, that's your scores. The one in the middle, it's your actual score. And you want that to be up to 720 or higher, right? So credit cards can help you gain your points and gain a higher credit score. But once you go over that 1/3 spending, your score starts dropping because the bank said, well, you're a risk. You're a risk. So your scores start going down. You know what I'm saying? Those are clues and tricks. Those are information that we need to be armed with, again, for not to become enslaved to debt, conquered by debt. You know what I'm saying? Even though this is a debt society, functions on a debt society, but that's the reason why this country is, goes through what it goes through, depressions and this and that, because that's the way they manipulate us and they keep us in order, right? But you in your household can be smart. You know what I'm saying? We all can be smart, right? Now, what's herd behavior states that people tend to mimic the financial behavior of the majority or herd, whether those actions are rational or irrational. In many cases, herd behavior is a set of decisions and actions that an individual will not necessarily make on his or her own, but which seems to have legitimacy because everyone is doing it. They're joining the bandwagon. So herd behavior often is considered a major cause of financial panic and stock market crashes. That's why when we learn for ourselves the bear market and the bull market, a lot of times you have to be careful because then when a lot of companies start making a bold move, everybody want to join in without anyone doing the investigating. Invest your time in it and investigate it more and understand how that's helping you. Have come up with your own plan, a plan of contingency, and your own plan. Okay. Anchoring refers to attaching spending to a certain reference point or level, even though it may not have logical relevance to the decision at hand. A common example of anchoring is the conventional wisdom that a diamond engagement ring should cost about 2 months worth of salary. That's one common of anchoring. Okay, attaching spending to a certain reference point, a level, each though they may not have a logical relevance to the decision at hand. So you think about this. A diamond engagement ring should cost about 2 months worth of salary. Another might be buying a stock that briefly rose from trading around $65 to hit $80 and then fell back to 65, out of the sense that it's now a bargain, anchoring your strategy at that $80 price. While they could be true, it is more likely that the $80 figure was an anomaly and the $65 is the true value of the share. So, this is, again, you have to know it. High self-rating refers to a person's tendency to rank himself better than others and higher than an average person. For example, an investor may think that he is an investment guru when his investment perform optimally, blocking out the investments that are performing poorly. All right. So that's a high self rating goes hand in hand with overconfidence, which reflects a tendency to overestimate and exaggerate one's ability to successfully perform a given task. This is dealing with the markets. This is dealing with finance at another level. Okay. Overconfidence can be harmful to an investor's ability to pick stock, for example. Study entitled Volume, Volatility, Price, and Profit When All Traders Are Above Average by researchers found that overconfident investors typically conduct more trades as compared with their less confident counterparts. And these trades actually produce yields significantly lower than the market. So, scholars have argued that the past decade have witnessed an unparalleled expansion of financialization and the role of finance in everyday business. So, in the past decade, have witnessed an unparalleled expansion. You know, I guess I'll save this for next week. The finance versus economics. Economics and finance are interrelated. Okay, let's go over this real quickly. Let me look at this real now. My light went off, yo. Excuse me. My light went off. Doubles, what's up? Floyd, what's going on? My light went off over here. So it's okay. It's okay. Okay. Yes. Let's just briefly mention this: finance versus economics. Economics and finance they're interrelated. Remember, we spoke about that. Economics is your habitat, your environment, and finance. I always look at finance as fiance, that part of you that you want to consolidate, you want to, against informing and influence each other. So economic and finance go hand in hand. Investors care about economics data, because they're also influenced by the market to a great degree. It's important for investors to avoid either or arguments regarding economics and finance. Both are important and have valid applications. So there shouldn't be an argument. You never see people arguing too much about finance and economics. because they're both important and have valid implications, both economics and finance. In general, the focus of economics, especially macroeconomics, tends to be bigger picture in nature, such as how country, regions, markets perform. You can take it into how your tribe, your community is performing. You should be invested in that. If you're going to invest in a house in a certain community, you also should be invested in how the community. I was speaking to my mother today about what's happening in her community. She lives in a community and she pays for the association. And so they have association, they're looking at the market and they're looking at certain things. You know, when you have a good president, somebody that you put in that place that's able and you're able to have these meetings in the communities. So economics also can focus on public policies, while the focus on finance is more individual, company, and industry specific. Now, macroeconomics explain what is expected if certain conditions change on the industry. The macro is the bigger picture. The micro is how it's affecting the change is affecting industry firms or us in an individual level. If a manufacturer raises the prices of cars, microeconomics says consumers would tend to buy fewer than before. If a major copper mine collapses in South America, the price of copper would tend to increase because supply is restricted, and that's scarcity. Finance also focuses how companies and investors evaluate risk and return. Historically, economics have been more theoretical and finance more practical. But in the last 20 years, the distinction has become much less pronounced. Is finance an art or science? The short answer in this question is it's both. Finance, or the idea of financial or fiance, it's an art and a science. It's an art and a science. As a science, finance is a field of study of the area of business, definitely has strong related scientific areas such as statistics and mathematics. There's a lot of mathematics that have to come to place. And I say that to my daughter or her husband all the time. You got to sit down and do the math on paper and pen. Yeah, paper and pencil, and do the math and look at the statistic if certain things are going to be cut out, and start budgeting, start statistically analyzing your household. That's running your house. When you do this and you teach your children to do this, you're now implementing this and you're putting out there into the world. When your children go out into the world for humanity, for the community, they become contributors to communities. Because now they understand statistics, mathematics. All my parents sat me down. I was involved in this. I have experience involved in statistics and mathematics. And who knows, later on they grow up to be a mathematician or statistic analyst. Furthermore, many modern financial theories resemble scientific and mathematical formulas. Yes, modern financial theories do resemble scientific and mathematical formulas. However, there is no denying the fact that the financial industry also includes non-scientific elements that's likened to the art. For example, it has been discovered that human emotions and decisions made because of them play a large role in many aspects in the financial world. Human emotion, energy that becomes emotion. How people, their feelings and emotion, their subconscious, the decisions they make with their feeling and emotion, and the balancements that they make with the ideas and concept, and a balanced person when balance both their ideas and concept with the feelings and the emotions, but that, again, decision, that plays a large role in the way the financial world operates. So again, this needs to be implemented and explored. So our children need to learn, also how to deal with their feelings and emotions, because it's going to impact their economy, their habitat, and their environment. And it's going to also determine how successful they're going to be. There's people that don't have no control of their emotions and make so many mistakes, and next thing you know, they're in a debt. They destroy something around them, so now they got to pay for it. Or they destroy the antisociable personality comes out that they destroy something, right? That's the outcome of it, and now they're in a debt. They have to now pay for that. You know what I'm saying? So modern financial theories such as the Black-Scholes model draws heavily on the laws of statistics, mathematics found in science. The very creation would have been impossible if science hadn't laid the initial groundwork. So also theoretical constructs such as the capital asset price. So this goes to now. Let's look at finance as an art, or the idea of fiance as an art. Still, while these and other economic advancements have greatly improved from day-to-day operation of the financial market, history is rife with examples that seem to contradict the notion that finance behave according to rational scientific law. For example, stock market disasters. Such as in October the 1987 crash, Black Monday. Man, I was in there. I was working for Spicer and Oppenheimer in 7 World Trade Center too. And that happened, which saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average fall 22%. Remember the 22% went into a bear market, and the great 1929 stock market crash beginning at Black Thursday, which is in October. October always seems to be that time. October, because that's the start of the winter, right? And not suitably explained by scientific theories such as the EMH, the human elements of fear also play a part in the reason a dramatic fall in stock market is often called a panic. Okay? On and on and on. Okay. Okay. So fiance finance is a broad term that describes activity associated with banking. So this is the clue when you deal with the fiance. You're looking at leveraging debt, credit, capital market, funds, and investments. You're going to look into investments. You know what I'm saying? Basically, finance represents the getting, the spending, and the management of money. Finance also encompasses the oversight, creation, the study of all elements that make a financial system and a financial service. Also the household. If you're in the fiance stage and you get into the engaged, right? You're engaged and you get into a marriage, a merging of two corporations, merging together. Now you have to look at a lot of, capital markets, credit, debt, funds. Sorry to say, what's your credit, honey? How you doing on that credit score? Because I ain't about to inherit your, you know what I'm saying? We need to fix that. That's the point of fiance and finance, is to start leveraging, start looking into that, showing how you can fix it. So you could both have a good credit score, buy that house, the marriage, or get into a wedding, right? Wed each other, consummate that marriage without falling in debt. You got some people that fall in debt after they marry. It shouldn't be like that, because that should be an investment, and that should be, on one hand, you're giving this as an offering to your family and showing that this is two corporations coming together and we're making the right move. We're leveraging our debt, credit, capital markets, and everything, and we're going to go into the wholesale insurance. We're going to look at all the aspects of finance and to build our economics, which is eco, habitat, and our environment. This is something that, man, I wish I would have known this. If only I knew now, only I knew 20 years ago what I know now. Not even 20, 30 years ago, because I'm 60. If only I knew 30 years ago what I know now, man, I would have been way better off. And that's the reason why it's so important. I'm going to end this right here. I think that's very important for us to keep this in mind. We have to keep this in mind, because again, the community is, a lot of times, communities need to flourish. And so we want to be contributors to community and to humanity. And for my brothers that are watching, like for instance, to Africa also, and the Congo, you know what I'm saying? Looking at our tribe, looking at our nation, our country, and looking at the finance, and how can we contribute to the economics, that habitat, that echo, that habitat in that environment, how can we contribute to that? So it starts with the family, right? Cultivating that habitat in the family, culture is very important for that, and extending it, expanding that into the tribe, expanding that to your community, to the relationships that you have on a daily basis with people that you associate with yourself, you know, partners, in the law firm, and then you become partner, you become a person that have now these rights, right? And these protections in a corporation. Same thing, all these terms, partner, you're my partner. You know what I'm saying? Well, if I'm your partner, then I have to share and everything. We need to create a financial stability here between these two relationships. You know, even friends. If you have a friend that's so antisociable and so economically devastated, financially devastated or culturally devastated, they're gonna bring you down. You either can have to educate them, coach. You have to educate them, or you're gonna definitely have to be like, yo, listen, I'm sorry, man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna open up that leaky faucet, you know. And then the borrowing comes in, the lending and the borrowing. And I don't lend or borrow. I like to just give. If I see that you're a person that can thrive and grow, and you need that extra head to push, then here's $20, here's 50. Don't ask me. If I see that you're gonna do something beneficial, here, toma, that's for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the dark. I'm sorry, y'all. So let me just do this. So that's it. You know what I'm saying? Science too. We look at behavioral science of how people behave, the science, the sensing of behavior science, and then how that impacts also the economics, and which deals with financing. And the macroeconomics is the macro, the country's economic, the humanity, and a bigger picture. And then you have the microeconomics of how it deals with your family and stuff like that. That is so important because that's your habitat and your environment. And so I've learned from my past of being in certain communities, environments. I was in a thriving community at one time, but then I was in another community that I see everything around me being destroyed and detrimental. But I didn't know better. I was a child. You know what I'm saying? And my father and my mother did the best she can to keep us from neighborhoods like that and communities, because she wanted to be in a community that's thriving, that she could see that there's people involved that wants to. Right now, where my mom's at right now, they're having problems because a lot of those homes were owned by owners. They move and they're renting. So a lot of people that come renting, the houses don't take care of the house just like an owner will do that, which is something bad in us. If you're gonna rent, take care of your habitat and your environment. I rent right now, and I'm in a big apartment here, and I rent, and I make sure that I keep up my environment. And economically, never been late on my rent. Economically, always have got my insurance going on here. Never. I make sure that I have everything in place and make sure that my whole family knows what's expected. We have a date, and I come and I approach everybody on that date. Okay, you know what day is this? This is what we're discussing. This is what we're doing, and so and so and so. Oh, daddy, but I need it. I know you need that, but how are you going to get it without it impacting or disrupting the order thing, the stability of the household? A lot of this has to be discussed. You see, a lot of this back in the days in the hood was not discussed. We wasn't raised like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us. So we're in a suppressive environment, right? So we became antisociable. So we started to do crime. So we started to get in jail. We didn't see. So the idea, but the proper thing to do is to educate the youth. Again, like Abisu Campos says, you educate them with the right knowledge, you know what I'm saying? The right understanding, right wisdom, that so they don't become conquered. I just embellished a little more. But you arm the youth with the proper knowledge so that they don't become conquered and enslaved. And that means enslaved by their debt or conquered by their debt in society. They have to know of how important it is for you to resonate. We're going to talk about that later. How important you to deal with economics in your household to create a family that's economically economically sound. You know what I'm saying? So it represents the community. And when you have more families like this, and you're in the community, and you move into a community where people are financially sound and they understand this, you can develop programs and initiatives to teach these things. This is why I'm mentoring now. I'm teaching this now. I'm teaching myself. Excuse me. Wow. I'm learning. I'm teaching myself. I'm learning. And at the same time, I'm sharing it because I'm on my second curve. Yeah. So we talked about behavior science, talk about the economics and finance. Finance, you teach a child when they're young, so when they get to that age of marrying and expanding the family through marriage, merging, right? The fiance is the finance part. Now both have to be sit down by an elder and discuss of how to conduct, be an example, conduct a household, because you're ready to embark into a marriage and create your family and your household. And this impacts the community, impacts the tribe, impacts the community, impacts humanity. The state, the country, impacts humanity. I'll leave you there, okay? So all investments to all. Let me see if anything here. Okay. And okay, everybody that's watching, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? And, this was just my Science Tuesday. We deal with behavior science and we deal with the science of money, economic, and introduction. Because we can go further and actually give practical experiences. You know what I'm saying? Practical experiences. So again, let me leave you with the out. Yep. Try to find something to leave you with. But anyway, we'll do this. Por allá,